Greetings, friends. Welcome to the Film Alchemist podcast. I am your host, Josh Griffey, helping guide you to the merciful end of the original series of the Planet of the Apes franchise, right? We have done a lot of stuff on the Planet of the Apes. Now we're just kind of doing what we can to wrap it up. We're kind of out of here, right? With Battle of the Planet of the Apes. This is part of our Damn Dirty April month. With our guest host, Jay Rollins. Go check out all of his work. Jay Rollins art everywhere online. He's an amazing artist. I've got some awesome D&D work from him. He's done the amazing artwork you've seen us sharing around for this curation. So this one is kind of an odd movie, right? You can tell this doesn't have the propulsion of some of the others. It doesn't quite know what it wants to say. But I do think it finds a really interesting gray spot. What happens when you burn down the world of the oppressor and find yourself in that position afterwards? Is it as easy to do good as you think? So again, a little bit of warts on this one, more than the normal Planet of the Apes movie, but still a very fun addition. So if you guys want to, we're going to keep going, right? If you want to hear the next movie in this franchise, the Mocky Mock Apes movie, it's going to be a feature-length commentary over on Patreon. That's right, patreon.com/filmalchemistpod. The best way to support the show, no question about it. You also get a ton of exclusive episodes over there. You get commentaries, miniseries. You can even pick out episodes you want us to talk about. Sorry, I got going fast. Kind of like Battle of the Planet of the Apes did. You can also leave 5-star ratings and reviews wherever you find podcasts. You can also watch us on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe over there. You can also just share an episode with a friend. All of this stuff helps us out. Make sure you help out Jay Rollins' art everywhere online. We owe Jay a lot for this. Not only just for the idea, but for just being a good friend. We love Jay very much. We hope you enjoy this episode on Battle for the Planet of the Apes.
I can't help thinking somewhere in the universe there has to be something better than man.
No!
We have seen the birth of the Planet of the Apes!
Let's go explain evolution to the monkeys.
You may not like what you find.
You blew it up! Oh, damn you! God damn you all to hell! It's a madhouse! A madhouse! Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty...
April! I'm just kidding, it's me.
I was okay. So like, Kate doesn't give a shit, but she's really excited that I'm excited about Planet of the Apes. I've been going up to her, and
I have that
so
kind of
like
work,
I had the iPad hanging here so I could watch it while I'm working, and then on my phone I had Cornelius being like, and he said what had been said to him hundreds of times by his human oppressors. He said no. And then I pressed play. No! I was like, did you see that? Dude, did you see it? Do you see it? It's...
Wow, so I thought you were going to say you were doing that while watching Battle, and it's just Caesar's like, I made the law so I could break the laws. He's like an evil Judge Dredd. I am the law, so I can... The law says thou shalt not clap a gorilla's wife, and Caesar's like, I said that, but now I unsay it. Caesar is such a prick in this movie.
Dude, War for the Planet of the Apes, Caesar might be the bad guy, too. I don't know if you've gotten back on
This
that.
one-
It's pretty...
We'll dive in balls deep like Caesar
we-
definitely was doing. It's not that he's bad. It's that he becomes this flippant king figure. Right? Whereas once he was the leader of, I'm going to bring my ape brethren to this new place. Now it seems like he just sits there and judges the fuck out of everyone. And just does whatever the fuck he wants.
Wait, are we podcasting yet?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's how seamless it is, dude. We're slid in.
We're deep. We're
Like McLovin, we're in.
Oh. Yeah, he, listen, Caesar, there is no final revolution. Like, he really thinks he did it. Like, I mean, it was a big move. It really was. And he should be proud of himself. But he thinks he's achieved world peace. And a lot of outside factors had to happen to make the world look like this.
Yeah.
yeah, he
They
really
somehow
did,
nuked
like,
the city like 10 miles away, but they're cool.
They're fine.
Yeah, they're getting that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 kind of dandelion growth over there, being on the outskirts of the city. But this is the thing.
He
still has human servants.
Safety of a Fox movie ranch.
Yeah, safety of a Fox movie ranch. He still has human servants. The makeup budget's crumbling.
Mm-hmm.
And Aldo is every day telling you, I'm going to fucking swing on you. He's doing nothing to address any of this.
Yeah.
He formed an army, put at the head of it this unstable fucking ape, and just is like, yep, this will be all right. Just, I think this is why this movie is the worst Planet of the Apes movie, to be honest. It still has a lot of those things I love about Planet of the Apes, right? Roddy McDowell's still great in it. It's kind of fun to see this period of it. You get to see John fucking Huston in this fucking bizarre lawgiver role. It's like, how the fuck did they pull that off? That
is one of those things that I've literally been I've been Googling. I have no fucking idea how John Huston wound up in this movie. Like, I don't
think
know
he
who
had
he's
a real
connected to.
deviancy that someone knew about. Not to just fucking slander this great man. But, I mean, someone they're like, can you be in the fifth Planet of the Apes for what I'm assuming was a half a day of shooting?
At best.
Yeah. I mean, and the makeup in this one is dramatically downgraded, it feels like.
It's pretty rough.
Is it Paul Wright? The guy who was in Phantom of the Paradise? I love that little actor. He plays Virgil.
Oh, Paul Williams. Yeah.
Paul Williams, that's what I mean. He never achieves the fluidity with the makeup, right? Lisa never achieves what, Kim Hunter did and the others. And I don't know if it's just their fault or if it's the makeup.
That to me is the skill part of like being Zira. Like Kim Hunter learned how to do that.
I mean, she is perfection in it. No one in this movie felt like they had gotten that far.
Yeah,
what do you think? Do you think the makeup was slipping, Jay?
Yes. I didn't. So I forgot to bring that up in Escape. And Escape is good, but like, especially there's shots of Zira in that movie under the chin.
Yeah.
Where you can see where the mouthpiece connects to the chin.
Yeah.
And I didn't even, I'm just watching Planet of the Apes, and so I'm just like, yeah, that's what the face looks like. But then I rewatched 68 Planet of the Apes, the very first one, with my wife the next day. And I just didn't even notice that the top and bottom mouthpieces were not separate pieces in that first movie.
Mm-hmm.
Which is where the fuck up happens for the whole rest of the series. Even like starting in Beneath and Beyond, like the first movie has like, I'm sure they had the top and bottom mouthpiece, and then they did some kind of whatever guar gum thing connecting the two of them, but they look like a mouth.
Dude, if there's a Planet of the Apes guar, that would be the best.
Oh, shit,
like some guys that are on the fucking Ape City, and they're like, we don't really have jobs. We don't have like,
I think
violence.
about like,
I'm just gonna fucking rage. We'll
do
a sick cover of Dust in the Wind.
I desperately want to see like a band like the Bobby Knight Riders, like all of them dressed like apes though. Like I want
start throwing chairs at other apes. And
I want a Planet of the Apes like band that's like covering Van Halen or something like that.
That's kind of a great entry point into this, because our first scene in the movie is essentially this very odd school that they've set up.
Yeah.
And Aldo has real tremendous Bobby Knight energy. Jay, you're not from the Midwest, so he might not be an icon to you.
Chicago.
Oh, you're from Chicago. That's right.
So
I thought you were an East Coast boy, but yeah. So you definitely remember Bobby Knight running around choking everyone and being a prick.
But everybody knows about Bobby Knight.
Yeah,
everybody knows.
But
Bobby
if you were an Indiana guy like us, like our dads would cry at Bobby Knight talking.
Yeah,
like he was like our dad's dad.
That's this like, weird thing about Bobby Knight is like my grandfather was like the most like passive person I've ever met in my life. Literally worshipped Bobby Knight. Like he was like the greatest basketball coach, and I'm just like.
You couldn't go to a family dinner where he wasn't like, that student deserved to get choked and put in a trash can.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But no, my dad owned two books. It was a Rush Limbaugh book and Bobby Knight autobiography. And that's like, if he read, that's what he read.
That's that.
I love that generation. It's this whole... Oh, actually, we're going to put this back to Planet of the Apes for a second. If if bad things happen to you, you think they need to happen to the next generation. So it's just like, I got choked all the time when I was a kid.
Well, that's what Aldo has a tremendous Bobby Knight vibe, right? He's running around just behaving poorly. He's abusing anyone in his vicinity, and the other guys are like, I mean, at least he's doing something. At least he's doing something. But that opening scene is actually amazing, right? Because this is the strange thing. This is where my confusion starts, right? We start in the year 2670.
I know. Oh, man.
Hearing the lawgiver talk. I think we do a Wayne's World.
Yeah.
Back to right after the events of 1991's conquest. But at first I was like, is Caesar fucking 1,000 years old?
Right? Yeah.
I was like, is that McDonald? Like when he said McDonald, I was like, wait, what the fuck? It took me a minute to process what just happened.
Exactly. And I actually got mad when I realized what happened because I thought at first that this was like Caesar the 12th. And I'm like, this is great because like he's, because that makes sense if this guy is like I understand the law for I am Caesar.
Now we're the shitty nepotism Caesar.
Yeah, there is this like interesting institutionalism to it, totally.
I thought that was great, and it explains why the fucking apes can talk. Can you give me can you just give me a little bit of breath for disbelief?
Only took a generation, apparently. Apparently it was like literally
Not
like
even.
someone was
like this is within like 10 years.
And there's a line in it where one orangutan was just like talking about the other orangutan, the one who knows fucking particle physics. When I know for a fact 15 years ago you were in a zoo.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? And the other guy is the other orangutan is like, he taught me when I was a boy. When? What are you talking about?
He taught you to throw feces at disruptive zoo guests.
Yeah, there's some real time leaps here that we're like, and it's interesting because
that's what I said. If that's like 1,000 years in the future, you're like, now we're talking,
right? Yeah. But it's not.
No.
So
and it's fascinating.
The fucking interrogator from the last movie is now the makeshift mayor, like a Walking Dead town of this one.
Yeah, just a pal.
So he's still within his human lifespan, right? He's still spry enough to get out and like shoot fucking mortars at apes. So he's not that old.
Yeah,
and we've got some nice like I love that we've got the earlier versions of the underground people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I love the idea of apes and humans trying to live together before everything went down. If you make this 1,000 years from now, and you make what we saw in the beginning 1,000 years after that. Now we can really play with stuff. Like you could even have the beneath people like starting to learn their skills.
Yes.
Starting to feel that they are the superior humans or whatever.
Right. Rather than doing Wish.com Mad Max. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's the like
they just hijacked their kids' school bus. They're like, this'll do. Yeah.
The second season of Doctor Who, the introduction of how the Daleks came to be the Daleks when they were just people who thought that they were the most superior in the world, but they got like uglier and uglier and grosser and grosser. Like you can straight up rip off that story and I'd be happy.
Yeah, it's because the thing that this movie does that I really enjoy, right? I like the idea of Caesar becoming this makeshift king or godlike figure and having to grapple with actually ruling a society. I like the idea that he still creates an army for some reason, right? He's still afraid of what might come.
Yeah.
I like the idea that his fucking little shitbag son, who's talking shit in school, is just like, I'm going to be the next king, while he's talking shit to the leader of the general in the same class. I like the idea of the humans starting to be imprisoned in losing trust in Caesar, because he's making the same mistakes that we made. Right? There's some really good setup for a classic Planet of the Apes movie. Like, we still never talk about what traumatized the humans that they stopped speaking. You know what I mean? Like, the mutants aside, that's fine. I think if I had a beef with the film, I think the mutants are just a completely unnecessary element of the movie. The idea of them imprisoning humans who then start to rise up against them, I think is a more traditional Planet of the Apes vibe.
I think this is something I said when we did Planet of the Apes, but it's super true for Battle, which is the deeper we get into these movies, and this goes for the newer trilogy as well, the deeper we go, the less interested I am in humans. Like, there's an entire other portion of this. Like, you could have kept the entire movie with these people. Like, the antagonist in Planet of the Apes.
It's McDonald. He's the one human.
Yeah. Like, the I think this is, like, always the thing about the Planet of the Apes, these ones particularly, is the antagonist in Planet of the Apes is not people, and it's not gorillas. Like, it is time. Like, it is the passage of time and the knowledge that everything is eventual.
It's
like,
not learning from the past.
Exactly. That is the true villain of these movies.
Which they set up in this movie perfectly.
Perfectly. But
right, Caesar is in the middle of a utopian society where he's still oppressing these humans.
Right.
The humans that helped him, right? McDonald helped him lit the fuse. We had a pretty spirited debate yesterday about McDonald's place in all of this. So now McDonald's just working for another shitty mayor.
Yeah.
Right? That puts him in a perfect place. He's like, the price he paid in blood, actual physical human blood. If McDonald had family, right? If McDonald's mom and dad were still alive, they're dead.
Right.
If McDonald had a kid or a girlfriend or whoever, they're dead. Right? The fact that he paid so much blood for his people to now be entering these fucking, gated corrals.
Can I ask?
That feels like something we should fucking talk about, right? Like, that feels like an important. He is the perfect. Him and Caesar are at the fucking twist, right? Where it goes from the planet of the humans to the planet of the apes. They should talk about what that takes as a psychic toll on them.
I think that's completely accurate. I have to ask this, though. Did I miss something? Because I generally go on Wikipedia before we do these to just make sure that I have at least some tangential knowledge about the movie was made.
Self-edited that we're the experts on every page.
It says in the Wikipedia that apparently McDonald, this version of McDonald, is the brother, the younger brother. Was that established in the movie?
To me, no.
Did I miss that?
I don't remember that.
I've never thought that. It was very strange.
No, I mean, and I saw.
I always thought it was the same guy.
Reflection of your glasses. I saw you pull up Wikipedia while we were recording. It's not like you prepared beforehand.
Oh no, I read it before.
He's like when Kobe would freestyle with the other Lakers, and they would accuse him of pre-writing.
I keep it in the pocket, Jay. I keep it in the pocket.
That's not off the dome, Dandino. That's not off the dome. We know that.
I'm not saying it's off the dome. I'm asking seriously because this was something I was wondering last night. I was
they
like,
didn't
why
even
does it
call
say
him,
this?
Hey, other McDonald.
Yeah, it literally is McDonald.
And McDonald specifically says he mentions who he worked with. Or who he worked for, which has to be an allusion to the mayor. Culp actually calls him. He's like, McDonald. He may have said a line like, that looks like McDonald, just like passive racism. I'm pretty sure he said, that's McDonald, who I specifically worked with all the fucking time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I don't know what the Wikipedia page is talking about.
Either way, it doesn't matter. I don't give a shit what
it could have been something that somebody brought up at a...
Either way,
in some version of a script
Either
somewhere.
way, the reason I bring it up is mainly because what we're talking about, which is why would that be a detail we would ever need to know? Like, are you trying to say that the passage of time has happened and like the younger brother survived longer and they are older? But I just nothing like that's ever transpired.
McDonald is not utilized in this film in any capacity. And in this film, he is the most interesting character in this film, right? Or at least his point of view should be. Caesar is still doing Caesar shit, and he's dealing with the consequence of that, but McDonald having to stare down what he brought upon the world is much more interesting thing to examine.
There is a much more interesting story, and it's the story that happened in between conquest and battle.
Yeah.
It is our revolution worked. Society is changing. We have changed society, but we can't change intergovernmental conflict, and the world ended anyway.
Yeah.
Holy shit, what a movie that could have been. And now
it's also this ultimate...
From the rubble. That's a movie.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell this is.
Well, this is like a weird Rumble movie. Like, you're just like...
It's like, The Outsiders,
It's like the greasers outside the soda shop. Like, that's all it is.
If
Like,
Patrick
it's really
Swayze's
weird.
got a little radiation poison.
Yeah.
It's like,
don't even know
maybe the socias were right. Ew.
I don't even know what the beneath people, what their motivation is, what they want, except that, like, I mean, they could go out into the sunlight if they felt like it. I mean,
That was
All
my
they have to
big
wear is
question.
goggles, apparently. So, ski goggles that
Like,
they have.
why
in
would they stay
ready
under
supply.
the burning city for 10 to 20 years if there was not something there for them?
yeah, if there was like some kind of
Right.
something like the sunlight hurts us now or whatever.
Right.
We
Yeah.
can only come out at night. That'd be something. And I
Like they had
the
lost
idea-
hope that there's any reason to look for anything. And then all of a sudden they're like, it's our world. I mean, they loosely do that, I guess. But
I guess I thought that. I always think that. I think for some reason in my head, I'd always assumed they shot these back to back, which is not true.
No, they were going to make Conquest the last movie.
Yeah, and so
And
like
it makes sense.
I always assume because obviously they bring back Culp and those kinds of character and that character McDonald. I always thought they shot these back to back, and then when I found out they didn't, I was like, "Huh? Why? Like why? Why? Like because I think Jay makes a great point, which is that would have been an infinitely better, more interesting movie, but that also goes to a sign of like the times and maybe that at this point in the series they're just trying to make money.
they also
Every
can't
sequel.
they can't out conquest, right?
Yeah.
So we don't need another bloody war movie, right? Like in this one, when the fighting starts, your brain just turns all the way off.
Right.
You're just like, oh, they're shooting mortars and like, you know, doing a clever ruse where they're all laying on the ground. Like, all right, we did that last time to the best effect, right? So this one should be about McDonald, and then Aldo versus Caesar is where this movie works perfectly. Because the whole idea of that starting scene, right, where teacher tells Aldo no. And they do these amazing push-ins of every character like they're in a Mentos commercial. Like looking over at the word. And it's like he said the oppressor's word, you know? And I was like, oh, fuck, that's pretty cool, right? And the gorillas are going to fucking murder him for this, right?
Yeah.
And we start getting into this battle, right? It sets up this battle of he wanted all of his brothers to have intelligence and freedom of speech and freedom, period. And now he's starting to question the value of everyone having freedom, which is a fascinating place to put Caesar, right? Like when he watches the video of his parents, right? Or like the PowerPoint presentation.
The PowerPoint presentation?
Yeah, of the stills of his parents.
Those were audio clips. I don't know why they needed to.
Right. And I was like, anywho.
I texted Griffey while I was watching. I was like, "Did they just not have the archival budget to put these?"
Destroy it.
I'm like, "Oh wait, it's audio. That's why."
Yeah.
I was like,
But
"That's an
it's-
interesting detail to keep in mind in this kind of movie."
Right. But that's he says right there, right? When he says it's the guerrillas' war.
Yeah.
And Caesar has this line. He goes, if I could change one thing about the future, I know what I'd change. And I was like, he wants to fucking kill the gorillas. He wants a guerrilla genocide. So he also is now in the mindset that he should oppress a group of the fucking apes that he fought to save. I was like, that is a fucking movie. That is a perfect Planet of the Apes story. So it's in there. It just kind of gets lost up in these other details. But if you really just watch this Caesar and Aldo track, right? And I love what Paul Williams is bringing to the movie. He's fantastic.
Yeah.
So you get this and you add just a little more McDonald, you know, watching this happen, right? This is what happens when you are in power. You start thinking you need to reduce others' power, and that's what leads to both of these plots. I think that's really interesting. So this movie, even for all of its foibles, I think you're just invested enough in this struggle that there's still some stuff that is really fascinating to watch for me.
It's fascinating. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was agreeing, and also I was going to say that there's 20 minutes of this movie that's highly watchable, and then like on either
and this is like
side of it,
87 with credits and redoing 5 minutes of the previous two
Right.
movies.
like
So,
yeah,
like,
when they
this
started,
is tight already.
this is a tight movie, but there's 20 minutes of this movie that's really impactful and like adds a lot to the Planet of the Apes lore.
Mm-hmm.
And then on either side of that is like a movie that feels like it was just made because we had to make.
They
a
gotta
Planet of
make
the
movie,
Apes yeah.
Yeah, I mean, having the beneath people in there, I honestly think that was nice. Like it was like Avengers Endgame, where it's just like, let's do a victory lap. Let's take a look at everything. You know?
That's a good way to put it.
I'll give them that.
They could have made it good. They could have been like, and look at all we've created here. But they didn't give a shit because honestly, every single, and I'm including the Andy Serkis one, every single Planet of the Apes movie after the first one was made because 20th Century Fox was getting killed in the box office by everybody else, and this is something that they owned. Every single one of them. Sometimes it's like that means we need to put a Planet of the Apes movie, do whatever you want, and creative people could just had carte blanche to create, which is where the good ones come from. Or it's just like, shit went out. We need one.
This is interesting. The 70s is really a fascinating time for sequelization of their franchises because it's true. Like Fox did not have a lot until like this. Between this and then Star Wars, like Star Wars came out, and that was
the 80s was like when the franchise like
that was Star Wars coming out in 79 was like that was when Fox was like, oh cool, we can print money again. And
I'm
then
afraid that was 1977.
77, sorry.
Yeah.
Now that would
but Apes were already what, like
it's 542 where I am, man. My brain is not up. Yeah,
fucking Aldo over here, dude. Jeez.
Hey, man.
Real fucking Aldo over here. A lot of decrees coming from that corner.
I'm going to stay on this theory, okay, because you can re-listen to it. The ape that Cornelius claims was the first to say no is Aldo. So I don't know if they did it on purpose because they don't bring it up. But I think Caesar is dead. The king is dead. Long live the king. And when the sacred scrolls got written and rewritten and translated, I think Aldo became the
Jay's
new
right.
Jesus.
Jay's on to something because this is a very specific thing about religion and about like, you know, when people say like history's written by the victors. Like when you get to the original Planet of the Apes, you have the warrior class, which is the gorillas, and you have the scientists and the religious people who are orangutans and who are chimpanzees, those kinds of like that kind of thing. He's right. Like there is this, why would you not rewrite history? Like, and
yes,
thousands of years into the future, we could, you know, we're all telling the wrong story. Like it's this horrifying game of telephone that at some point it's like, yeah, why wouldn't Aldo be that guy? Like the real story is someone said no to Aldo and he fucking went ape shit. Haha.
Oh, I can't believe it took us 5 bots to get that one in.
And there's no there really is no avarice between chimps and humans and orangutans and humans. The only ones who hate the humans are the gorillas.
Right.
So we've got, because of Aldo, we have this, honestly, because of the human society that existed right before this, we have a very militaristic society. That's the society that they were birthed from. Mm-hmm. We got a very militaristic gorilla society that's like oppress the people, but the orangutans were smart. They were quiet. They kept under the radar, and maybe they had their own little intelligentsia revolution. But still, the myths of the darker age like stuck around.
I like that take, right? Because it directly correlates with us seeing the new scrolls being discussed by the lawgiver. Right? About how Caesar kept waiting and his patience paid off, and now we live in a utopia where a little blonde child can push down an ape child on wet rocks.
Right.
And we know that little child's not getting fucking lynched. We're like, that's good. That's a good society we're in, right? Maybe that little kid should have got thrown in the fucking river. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's the 27th century, but, you know, that's not what it looks like in 3950 something.
Exactly. It looks just like where we were. The only thing where I would say that I think my conspiracy theory that it was still Milo and it got all twisted up by the battles of history. Because if it was Aldo,
I don't know.
But I'm saying when history gets garbled up, right? If it was Aldo, why would the orangutan be the leading force in the society of the first movie? The gorillas are nothing in that movie, right? And then in the second one, Ursus kind of steps up and he's like, I'm going to do it. I mean, Zaius is still the fucking leader of that expedition and military force.
you bring up something that's been a problem that I've had since Beneath. Because okay, so I talked about this in the very first movie, where the caste system has the most oppressed people being the gorillas, and the gorillas, most oppressed ape being the gorillas, and the gorillas represent the working class, the lower class, the people who are the cops and whatever, who oppress the people who are below them, who are human beings. It's just like, we treat you like you're pieces of shit. You do all the labor jobs, but at least you're better than these. Like, you get to hunt them, you get to beat them, whatever. And so, since in my head I kept that representation of them as the working class who's being told that like the immigrants are taking your jobs and eating your food, right? I really didn't like the characterization that's been happening since the second movie, where they say like, look at these fucking savages. So, you know, if we're living within the lore, there's one thing to talk about, but thinking about the writers and what their point was has been like eating at me. I don't know what they're trying to say.
Well, his militarism wins out, right? And we get this horrifying version that we saw in the first movie. And in this one, Caesar overcomes by assisting in murder. And that makes everything okay to where now we are in a utopia. But I'm with you. I think, and that was actually probably like the one shining light of the Marky Mark one, storytelling wise.
Yeah.
Is that they brought the apes, the gorillas at least, the gorilla cast back to where they could become these kind of noble warriors, right? That they are working to protect their society. They are the fist of the government, but that they have some agency in it. They're not just fucking mindless, you know, brutes.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think but the gorillas in this one are quasi-sympathetic, I think is the interesting part, right? Like they're made to be this scary force like Ursus in the first one. But even Ursus is just like, dude, they're making 100-foot firewalls in the desert. We should maybe handle that. It's somewhat logical from his societal perspective, right? Where we are just these pests that eat their crops and start 100-foot fires and whatever, right? He somewhat makes sense. He doesn't kill the protesters. He hides them, right? Because that's bad press. So they have these little things that I think they assume are enough to give us empathy with this one. But in this one, right, this guy so desperately just wants to be heard, Arlo. He wants a say. He wants to be heard. He wants someone to take him serious and not condescend to him like Cornelius and Caesar, right? And the whole idea of you don't say the oppressor's word of no, isn't that pretty much what Caesar tells him in so many words every fucking time they talk? So is it a shock that him and his buddies go, without a voice, we have no power. Guns equal power. We need the guns. That's a very logical series of steps to get, because that's essentially what Caesar said in the last fucking movie.
I just don't understand what happened where the orangutans get educated to the level where they're talking about
right.
temporal theory, and the gorillas have trouble writing. What I just in 5 years, whatever.
Take away the time. Take away the time.
Enough time because that part's going to be annoying forever. Like, what happened? Why is this the society that Caesar created on purpose?
Caesar fucking stratified them and imprisoned human beings. So Caesar is setting up.
He already
this
set
horrifying caste system.
You did exactly what the humans did to you. You told the gorillas who they were, and they proved you right.
Wasn't this is something that I've been thinking about.
And it would be nice if that was the lesson of the movie.
I
don't know if it is.
But here's the thing, though. And to your earlier point about, you know, how the scrolls are written and those kinds of things, Aldo's the first one to say no. When Beneath ends, that is the end of this, like, that is the end of like a certain story. Like, you're looking at one, like, those two movies are one section of this story. Escape, Conquest, and Battle are actually like conceivably historical documents. So what's interesting is to go back and realize, like, when you're watching the first one and Beneath, all of that is predicated on these trumped up stories that like don't really exist. Like what we're watching between the one thing, like the thing that Battle has, the merit that I think it has is that conceivably you could think of it as the true story of what's going on. So like between those last three movies, you're seeing the truth of what really happened. It's not this like, oh, Caesar rose up and saved us all. Like Caesar rose up and also fucked up, like literally the entire time. It's this,
and you hear Lisa gassing him up like you're a noble and good king, and it's like, what?
Yeah.
What?
No,
like,
he's an
Lisa-
idiot who was raised in a circus who got
Totally.
he was born into privilege.
He
and
built
as soon as he
society
became
on
something
circus
lower
strata.
than somebody else. He said, "You won't
Exactly.
take that power away from me."
he didn't change anything.
This is
When I
literally
was-
circus strata. The
When I
human
was
beings are the
watching,
elephants. The gorillas are the guy that put the tents up. The orangutans do the fucking poster art. And the chimpanzees are the ringmasters. This
When
is
I was
circus
watching-
strata.
When I was watching the original with my wife, she every time Charlton Heston like stood up straight or grabbed a gun or whatever or jumped on a horse, because like just like swagging around like he owns the place, even though like this is. She just kept every time he did that. She said, "I'm an American."
Yeah, that rich white prerogative, dude. He's got that coming out everywhere.
I'm an American.
And that's Caesar. That's actually like not to undercut his revolution. It was very important, but that's Caesar, and that's why he started the revolution. He just couldn't. He felt that's the next Caesar too. A little bit.
Sure.
Stay tuned. But it's this idea that like I didn't know that I was less than.
Right.
Now I am. I refuse to make that happen. And everybody who looks like me is coming with me.
Right. I think the hardest part about the sequels, moving beyond Beneath, is that going back in time really hamstrings the entire series, because while it's fun to watch and Conquest is awesome and those kinds of things, Conquest also, like we said yesterday, or last week, I don't remember when it was, but like we said, stands alone. Like, it can stand alone as a movie. If you only watch Conquest, that movie fucking rules. And you're like, oh shit, like, there's some seriously heavy shit going on here. But
yeah,
when you throw in the fact that this happens in the past,
you want to listen to that, donate to Patreon.
Yeah.
That's all right. Patreon.com/FilmAlchemist.
So,
Probably
get
the
on
best
that
episode we've ever done. No big deal.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. If you don't want to donate, that's your problem. Like,
You'll miss out. Whatever.
If you want to
Yeah,
listen
you can
to a
listen-
ton
whatever,
of
you'll just have an
lesser-free
incomplete
podcasts.
series of pods about the Planet of the Apes. That's your
You
business,
can
I
listen
guess.
to Beneath the Planet of the Apes and Battle for the Planet of the Apes
Yeah.
and just miss out on Conquest. That's fine. That's good.
It's fine.
We
You can
know,
miss
we
out
know
on the
how to
best movie
dole
of
out the
series.
tit. Let's put it that way. We know how to dole it out. All right. But
that's really what it is.
This is the first one, though, where we're starting to address that they might be escaping the paradox of the other movies.
Right.
Right? That Taylor begets Zira and Cornelius, who beget the plague, who beget the society. This movie is telling us that there's a chance that this society could be more utopian at the end. It's the only movie that ends on a positive note.
Yeah.
So are we to believe that that is true, and then all of a sudden there was still an uprising and the lawgiver became the statue again, and it still went tits up? That seems to be how this series operates, right? The problem is that the messaging of the movie, to Jay's point, where the last thing we hear Caesar say is, shouldn't a murder be met by another murder? And Paul Williams is like, I only know about particle physics, dude. I don't know about ethics, maybe. And that's the last thing we see. And then all of a sudden he's like, and it was peace. They kept their guns. They killed Arlo, and peace happened.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Was
One
that just like
one
a
tier,
last-minute-
the end.
Was that a last minute addition? Because it's just like
They're like, we
you
paid
might
for that
say they
sculpture of
joined the
Caesar.
human
We're
race.
getting to that.
You might say they joined the human race. Should have been the.
That's a good line.
The waves washing up against the shore,
Yeah.
cut to black part.
Yeah.
I don't know what the
When
point is.
apes
What's the
start
point of
killing
lawgiver?
other apes for their own personal benefit, that's when they're us. That's a great sentiment. That was a great line. That whole scene, right, where Arlo's like, I'm going to fucking kill Caesar. And they're all just, ape killed ape. Ape. It's like that Freaks thing, right? Like they're chanting, right? And he's back. You see the fear in Arlo's face. You can tell that everyone in that place is like, this is a moment of historical significance. We don't know what to do. And then Caesar's the only one who's like, he killed my son. I'm going to fucking get his ass. Right? He's chasing him up the tree. That scene is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And when Arlo dies, it all just falls back in line for King Caesar. Right?
What kind
And
of
you
chimp
just
dies from
fucking
getting
know.
knocked out of a tree, though?
Well, he's a gorilla.
I mean,
I'll tell you.
If you dropped a
I'm talking
gorilla
about-
30 feet, he might die.
I'm talking about Caesar's son. I'm like,
Well,
the kids,
he's a soft-
The
he's a
chimps
soft
these days
little
are
bitch.
so soft. In
He's
my
so
day,
soft.
the chimps were. You could climb a tree, you could jump from tree to tree.
Yeah.
Now you wear shoes and you
Yeah.
can't even deal with it.
Oh, sick. Now you write love letters to your teacher, right? Like, we would never hurt you. That's how you get hurt. You open up your heart, you're bringing
teacher,
in the
did you forget your own name? Yes,
Yeah.
I did, because I'm oppressed.
He's like,
I'm
I
sorry.
didn't, you little sack of shit. He had to pretend that he forgot his own name so that Caesar wouldn't put him in a corral.
I can't remember
Oh,
the book
great.
I can't remember the book, but in high school, the book that we read, I don't know if you guys had to read this one about the kids at private school, and one of them falls out of a tree and breaks his
Oh,
leg.
yeah.
and- what is it called?
I remember they jounced the limb, and then he
Jounced the lip.
Yeah,
jounce. They just
That's
kept
really
telling,
English shit right
explaining
there.
what jounce meant. A separate piece.
separate piece. Yeah, and then you find out at the end the kid died while they were resetting the leg, and you're like, well, you got to better the species somehow, I
He
guess.
pushed him out on purpose and then started wearing his clothes and sniffing it.
Yeah.
I just remember the whole time everybody in class being like, "This is serial killer shit. Why am I?"
Why are we
No,
reading this?
I read almost exclusively awesome books in high school. The book I read in high school that I wish this movie had emulated more is Animal Farm.
Yeah. Well,
Right?
they
This is
really
Caesar
hard.
gets in the house and all of a sudden he's like, hey, maybe the horse should be pulling doubles. And it's like, wait, what? What happened? Right? Rewriting the laws on the wall. I think that's how I thought of this movie at its best.
And we don't know what Caesar is really like as a leader on the day to day, but we know it's not great because when teacher screams no, he's genuinely afraid that Aldo is going to get hurt by Caesar for tearing up his son's shit. He's like, no, oh God.
Yeah, it's
Like,
not
I
a
don't
no
know
of like,
what
don't
kind
do
of
that.
bastard Caesar is. But
That's a great point. That's a super important distinction in that no.
Yeah.
He is
It's
protecting Aldo, who is nothing but a piece of shit in his class. There's a way to look at it that Caesar is forcing Aldo and his goons into class specifically to punish them,
to embarrass them.
to remind them where they are, right? And there are signs of this horrifying society everywhere. And we just kind of give Caesar a pass, right? Because we watch him holding his dying son's hand. And we're like, Caesar's been our hero. Roddy McDowall has been our hero, our lovable figure. Caesar is not that guy in this one.
Yeah.
He's not at all. At the end when he doesn't destroy the guns, right? Because we see these scenes of Arlo, right? Where he's like, we don't, gather with humans, right? And they kick the humans out of their, their conference or whatever. You're like, that scene's fucking righteous. I love that, right? Later when they have to meet in private and they're like, guns equal power. We need the guns. And they know that Caesar's son saw it, right? This is essentially Cain and Abel. In that moment, Arlo knows I have to kill another ape, let alone a child ape, for the consequences will be dire. So in a society without a true prison system or murder regularly, something in Arlo says, I got to go up and get this fucker with my machete. There's something in the back of all of their minds that is breeding this evil. It's the topsoil for these evils.
I'll tell you exactly where it comes from. Because Caesar inspired all of them and said, when you feel that you're being oppressed, you grab the sharpest thing you've got, you grab a torch, and you burn that motherfucker down.
Yeah.
He never thought that when he stratified people, that they would remember his lesson and do it again.
Yeah.
And that's the gorillas just saw that they were being oppressed again. I don't even know if they realized it, but they saw they were being oppressed again, and they did what they did last time.
Yeah, they're in school. You start giving them a little knowledge to where they can look around and say, you know what? Something doesn't fucking add up. Yeah. Like something's off here. And the fact that Caesar is the smartest, supposedly.
He used to be the smartest.
Caesar
now everybody
fucking knows what he's doing. Caesar knows he is oppressing these gorillas. He mentions casually that he wishes he could genocide the gorillas. Right? Because now they have their own opinions and they are the strongest people, he's upset. There's a real, but that's what I mean. Even in this fucking foible of a movie, they had the good stuff. Like, there's really fucking rich stuff to explore in this film.
If we didn't try to put the mutants in, the freaks, they're different. I don't know.
They're malformed. Dude, but when Cornelia said, Dad, am I malformed? Right? When he's like broken, I was like, that line was fucking great. Yeah. That was a great moment. Because then Caesar's like, oh, wait, I've been, demonizing others with fucking catchphrases. Yeah. And now my son's saying it. Oh, that's a bummer. And it's like, you should know that by now.
They're not even that ugly yet. I don't know what he's talking about. Yeah. They
just don't have any of that vitamin D, dude. Chill out.
But I know that they really wanted to shoehorn them in. Because somebody said, wouldn't it be a cool idea if all the guys who were in the compound were the underground people? But they needed to shoehorn that in. That's why he needed to get the recordings from the city so that he could hear his parents. But wouldn't it be interesting?
Does he need that, though? Does that add any value to the movie?
Wouldn't it be interesting if he was oppressing the gorillas and we're watching this happen and McDonald, his right hand, is just like, why do you treat them like that?
Yeah.
And he said, I'll tell you why. And then he goes into his secret room. It's a recording. It wasn't our war. It was the gorillas. He's like, they, not man, are responsible for the end of the world.
Right.
We must keep them down the way we keep man down. Like, whatever.
And McDonald realizes he is creating the monster of the future.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. No, there's a lot of good stuff here. It just reeks of that no one believing in this film. This reeks of a job, right? Like, this has to happen and exist. And it's a bummer, because there's still that, they had built such a tremendous world and franchise.
Yeah.
That even in a movie that essentially makes every fucking misstep, there's still all this greater meaning, because we're still bringing 4 other movies worth of examination and knowledge into this. Mm-hmm. And things that I don't think they probably had this great sub-thought of Caesar is an evil king. I think they thought they were making a movie where Caesar's still the good guy. And he's not. Because it's there. There's still work that if you watch them all, there's still plenty of things to glean from this.
I can't wait for us to get to War of the Planet of the Apes, because the people who put that together did see Battle of the Planet of the Apes, and they did see that Caesar was a bad guy.
Right.
Saw what he became, and they did it. Oh.
Absolute power corrupts absolutely is a cliche for a reason.
Exactly.
That's just what it is. But yeah, that's the thing. I think there's still some amazing shit in this movie. But this is the bottom of the hill. This is even worse than the Marky Mark one. The Marky Mark one is just not a Planet of the Apes movie, but it's still fun. It's still got incredible makeup. Like, it's got some stuff that is fun.
What Planet of the Funky Bunch has that this one doesn't is costume design and art department. Like,
the gorillas looking different, them running at full speed. That's fucking righteous.
What Battle is missing out on. I don't care that you don't have a budget. You can throw something together. There was TV shows in 1973 who could have done better than just having the same kind of costumes they're gonna have 2,000 years from now.
The only thing they needed more of was dialogue. They didn't need any extra dollars.
Have Caesar wear the same clothes that his father wore, whatever. Mm-hmm. But have everybody else
that fucking pimp suit.
We'll have them wear some kind of "I'm better than I used to be" version of the jumpsuits that they wore in the last.
He's walking
movie.
Around like Ric Flair. Yeah,
the jumpsuits, but with little, but with the leather shoulder pad. Whatever. Do something.
He's starting to make those fake medals that third world dictatorships give out. Dude, that would be righteous. Yeah. That would be righteous. No, it's all there. It's all there, but we're at the bottom. Next, we're gonna get a big dumb popcorn remake of Planet of the Apes. Right? And then we start the new trilogy, which I can't wait to get to that too, because I think it's such a different journey than this franchise. It manages to become its own thing, which is fascinating in the context of how we're doing this.
Yeah, and I think we can all agree that Mark Wahlberg in Planet of the Apes was the worst thing that happened in 2001.
Mock?
Mock? Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else happened.
I don't know. He said hi to my mother.
2001 that wasn't good.
No, it was okay. I'm not saying
You're saying it was the worst.
So this movie
aeronautical disaster of 2001 was.
I'm saying it's all connected, man. Okay,
boy, that's the
this
pod
movie
we're
came
going
out
into.
in July 2001.
Yeah.
3 months
Never
later,
forget what Marky Mark
we start
did.
the war on. I'm just saying. 3 months later, the towers go down. Where was Mock?
Yeah.
Where was
Where was
Mock?
Mock?
Where was Mock?
Where was Mock?
Where was Mock? Were you at Dane's funeral? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, how you doing? So you're a monkey, right?
Oh, no.
I was in Planet of the Apes.
Did we just implement Marky Mark in a terrorist plot? Maybe. We're just throwing out details. You
I
guys
guess you'll
paint the
have to
picture.
find out.
Yeah.
I'm just asking questions. Hey.
Yeah.
I'm just asking questions.
We're just providing the colors, dude. We're just providing the colors. That's all. No. Yeah, I had a personal tragedy associated with that Planet of the Apes that we'll talk about on our Patreon exclusive commentary on the Mocky Mock Planet of the Apes. So go to patreon.com/filmalchemistpod to find that awesome stuff. The next time you hear from us, we'll be into the new Ape trilogy. So I hope you guys are having fun. Jay, tell the people where to find your stuff.
At J Rollins Art on Instagram and Twitter. Oh,
Yeah.
and you can buy an issue of Fettered Space.
Yeah!
If you'd like to, just
Yeah.
contact me because I've got a whole stack of them and it's a good book.
I'll put all that stuff in the show notes. Also, if you want to email the show, filmalchemistpod@gmail.com, I'll show you a fucking killer D&D commission Jay did for me. I know all us D&D people, we like to fucking get artwork to commemorate our fake journey, so find Jay. He's amazing. We will see you next time for Mocky Mark on patreon.com/filmalchemistpod, or we will be rising with the apes on
Time to
this
rise.
main feed. So, thank you. Bye.